Okay, good afternoon. The shir is Refuah Shalema for Yehuda Chaim ben Esther Sarah, Refuah Shalema. And the shir is Le'ela Nishma Shel Elimelech ben Levi Yitzchak, Tzvi ben Chaim Pesach, Oshish ben Chaim ben Ephraim Etziona, Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah bas Yitzchak, Avram ben Mordechai David, Ruvain ben Shmuel, Shoshana bas Elchanan, Yeshua ben Shmuel, Chaim ben Fega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Chaim ben Gedalia, Rochel bas Yosef, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Zalman Leib ben Moshe, Chaim Elio ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, Gedalia ben Tzvi Ruvain, Leila Nishmatam. This week's Parsha is the Parsha of the Meraglim. It's amazing how the Haftorah and the Parsha always speak to current events. The Haftorah, the Parsha, where Moshe Rabbeinu sends Meraglim, and the mission is a disaster. It's a disaster. And 39 years later, Yeshua ben Nun sends spies. Didn't he learn? I mean, don't we trust the big boss? So, first of all, why was the Meraglim? Rav Avram asked me a good question. These were great men, Avraham, great men. Rosh B'nai Yisrael Hema, Haredi rabbis. How could they sabotage the mission like that? What's going on? Avram, your question. We're not talking about slouches here. They all wore streimels and kapatis. Rosh B'nai Yisrael Hema. What went wrong, Avraham? Your question. To answer your question, Avraham, we're going to ask another. 39 years later, in the Haftorah, Yeshua sends spies, but he sends them cheresh. What does cheresh mean? Secretly. On the QT. On the QT. Now, why repeat? Didn't he learn? He was one of the spies from 39 years ago. But he didn't agree with them. But he was there. He saw the disaster. Why take a chance again, Reb Nachum? And more important, why do I need to know from 3,300 years ago? What's the message? Yeah, the message. Well, Chazal say that the reason that Moshe's spies failed so miserably is the same reason why the first tablets were broken. Avram, you asked me a good question. Chazal tell us, why were the first tablets broken? Why? So Rashi quotes the Midrash because the first tablets were given through great fanfare. Thunder and light show. God turned nature upside down. The Ayin Hara affected the first Luchot. Ayin Hara, incredible Medrash that Rashi quotes in Parshat Kisisa. The first tablets were broken, they failed because of Ayin Hara. And the same thing with the Meraglim. These were great people. But great people have great egos. And they called press conferences, and each one gave an interview. Rabbi, Dr., PhD, what?
Sound bites.
Sound bites. It was a major production, straight from Hollywood. And therefore, the Ayin Hara affected them. The Ayin Hara, you didn't know this, right? Good thing you're here today, Masha. The spies' mission was a disaster, say Chazal, because since it was publicized, press conferences, right? Great what? PR. So the Ayin Hara attached themselves and sabotaged the spies' mission. So 39 years later, Yeshua ben Nun also sends spies, but this time cheresh. And it was successful. Torah is not a history book, Chaya. Torah is GPS, God's personal system. The message is, if you want a project in life to succeed in any venue, don't advertise, don't brag about it, don't boast about it, don't call press conferences, because then it's bound to fail. If you want a mission to succeed, a project to succeed, ein lecha yofe min atzniut, say Chazal. So the second tablets worked out, because the second tablets, there was no what? Publicity, no Cecil B. DeMille production, volcanoes erupting, God turning heaven and earth upside down. The second tablets were given quietly, and the second mission of the Meraglim are also quietly. So that's the message, not ancient history. The message is, if you want a project to succeed in every endeavor, the key is what? Low key. That's against our Western values, is to advertise yourself and call press conferences and be the center of the party. But Judaism teaches no. To be b'tzenua, Avi, right? Cheresh, keep a low profile. And this way, things will work out. So therefore, Yeshua ben Nun learned from his Rebbe's mistake, and therefore he sent spies, Cheresh, quietly, to avoid the ayin hara. But the question is, why do it in the first place? Don't we trust God? The answer is, we know, and we'll see this throughout, that the tikkun comes from the chet. Once the Jews sinned by sending spies, then the only way to be metaken that chai is to what? Send spies. Yeshua ben Nun had no choice. The same idea. Does God need a golden tabernacle with golden lovebirds in the Holy of Holies? The Holy of Holies, there's golden lovebirds. It's golden statues, kruvim. So what does the Medrash say? Since we sinned with a golden statue, a golden calf disco, now the only way we can repair the damage is what? Is to make golden kruvim. We sinned with gold, now do it my way. If there would be no golden calf, there'd be no need for golden lovebirds in the Holy of Holies, no less. But this is the secret of Yahadut. The way you sin is the way you repair the damage. You sin with gold, now take gold and do it my way. We sin with the Meraglim, now Yeshua ben Nun has no choice but to what? Send Meraglim to repair the damage. The way you sin is the way you make it right. And you see that in the Haftorah, Joshua 2. So the two spies go to the house of Isha Zonah, Ushma Rachav. No, the Bible doesn't cover up. Tell it like it is. They go to a house of a woman of ill repute. And why do they go there? So the Talmud teaches us that she was not just a madam of the night, but she had a particular clientele. The 31 kings of Canaan were her clients. Canaan at that time had 31 kings. So her clientele was very exclusive. The 31 kings of Canaan that were her clients. So the spies went there to pick up pillow talk. And when the king has a rough day at the office and he comes to unwind in the house of Rachav Hazonah, he spills the beans to her. I think it's called pillow talk, no? So they figured that they could pick up, and they were right. But this woman who was a immodest, immoral lady of the night undergoes an amazing transformation. It's just amazing. She says to them, I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you the land. She recognized the true God of Israel. She says that I know that God is the only God, b'shamayim imal ha'aretz matachas. He is the only God in the heaven above, and He's also ha'aretz mitachat. He's also what? On the earth below. The sky above, the earth below.
It didn't convince her to give up her profession, however.
Of course, what are you talking about? She converted to Judaism and became the wife of Yeshua ben Nun. What are you talking about? What do you mean later? When Yeshua ben Nun marries, when you get to that, it's just incredible. But what she says that's the tikkun for the Meraglim were great people. The Meraglim were great people. But they tried to put God in a box. They said God is concerned with the big ticket items. God's concerned with splitting of the Red Sea, with giving us manna, magic waters, magic food. God is concerned in the big ticket items. But God is not concerned what goes on in the natural world. In the Midbar, we live a supernatural existence. So God's in the big ticket items. But when we come to Pisgat Zev or East Talpiot, I mean, God is not going to be concerned what goes on in the post office or in their Anana office. He's too busy for that. He can't be bothered with that. That's what the Meraglim thought. But this woman says, "B'shamayim al ha'aretz mitachas." The same God that's concerned with heavenly matters is concerned with what? What goes on behind closed doors. Incredible. This woman undergoes an amazing transformation from being a lady of the night to converting to Judaism and marrying no less than Yeshua ben Nun. Can you imagine the headlines in the Jewish press? Yeshua ben Nun, the greatest leader the Jewish people ever had besides Moses, marries Madonna. You'd imagine, couldn't he find the Beis Yaakov girl? He wasn't looking. And guess who's a great-great-grandson of her? Jeremiah, not the bullfrog, the prophet. Jeremiah, the prophet, was a great-great-grandchild of Rachav and Yeshua ben Nun. So look how Judaism does not discriminate. You can be a lady of ill repute, but if you want to change and turn your life around, you can do it. It's never too late. What a message. Every human being can do tshuva, even a pagan. Even a pagan zonah can choose to become what? The righteous great-grandmother of Jeremiah. What a powerful message of the Haftorah. Now, the Haftorah tells us that she saves the lives of these two spies. In return, she wants protection, right? A safe house. So they tell her, when you come into the land of Israel, you're going to tie a tikvas chut hashani hazeh. You're going to tie this red rope in the window. Now, what was she doing with a red rope? What was she doing with a red rope? So Chazal say her royal clientele would sneak up into her window through this red rope. They were embarrassed to go through the front door. A king has to pay for sex. It's a little embarrassing. So she had this red rope where her royal customer would climb through the back window for lovey-dovey and pillow talk. Red rope. Perhaps that's where the red light district comes from. You never know. The red light district, Masha, the red rope. So that red rope that she used for immoral purposes for her boyfriends to climb through the window, the Meraglim tell her, take that chut hashani, tie it in your window, and we're going to go down that red rope. So you're going to save our lives with that red rope. So the very rope that she used for immoral purposes, that rope she used to save the lives of the two spies. And therefore it says, tikvat chut hashani. Tikvat chut hashani. What does tikva mean? Hope. Your hope is in that red rope. You sinned with the red rope. Your immoral boyfriends came through that window with the red rope. So your tikva, it's incredible. Joshua 2, verse 18. That's your tikva. Now you're going to use that red rope to save our lives. And that will be your tikva. So again, we see that the tikkun comes from the chet. The way a person sins is the way he repaired the damage. We sin with gold, we make a golden mishkan. We sin with spies, now we send spies to make the tikkun. She sinned with that red rope, now she's going to use that red rope to what? To turn her life around. To make this amazing transformation. To become the Rebbitzin of Israel, the first Rebbitzin, Yeshua ben Nun. You know who he was? The second greatest leader the Jewish people ever had was Yeshua ben Nun. So what an amazing lesson of hope. No matter how far a person sinned, no matter how many sins he does, he can what? Turn his life around. It's never too late. A pagan immoral woman became the first Rebbitzin of Israel. What a powerful message. Right? What?
Tikkun comes from
Tikva. It says tikva. Your tikva means hope. Tikva. Your hope for salvation will come from this red rope that you sinned, that you used to sin for immoral purposes, where your boyfriend snuck through the window. You're going to use that red rope to save our lives, thereby turning your life around.
Does it come from the word tikva?
Tikva. Tikva.
Two words.
Joshua 2, verse 18. Tikva. It says tikva. This rope is your tikva. Tikva in Hebrew means hope.
And repair comes from hope.
Tikkun.
Yeah.
Tikkun. Tikva. Oh, that's right. Tikkun. Right? The tikkun, tikva. It's the same root. Now we know that the Parsha of the week always speaks to current events. The Parsha of the week speaks about the Meraglim, super Haredi rabbis that slandered Israel. Kawinky dinky, this very week, you had 15,000 Haredi modern day spies who got together in Hasidic garb and rented a stadium in Brooklyn to slander the IDF and Israel. Now, they couldn't have picked a better Shabbos. This week, where you have Haredi spies, Rosh B'nai Yisrael, slandering the land of Israel. So this very week, in the Barclays Stadium in Brooklyn, I don't know where that is, but 15,000 modern-day spies dressed in Haredi garb got together for the sole purpose of slandering the IDF and Israel. That's pretty incredible.
Did they have any prostitutes with them?
What they did is worse. To slander Israel and the IDF. That's exactly what the Meraglim did.
Where did they meet?
In the Barclays Stadium in Brooklyn.
Really?
They have money for this. They picked the right Parsha. They live in New York. And they're slandering the IDF and the state of Israel. Meraglim. It's amazing. You heard of the Netziv, the great rabbi, the Netziv Yehudi Berlin, a great Haredi rabbi, lived in the 1890s in Volozhin. One day he had an office, and he had a guest coming from Eretz Yisrael to visit him. And all of a sudden, his family hears he's screaming at the guest, "Meragel, tzei mikan! Meragel, tzei mikan!" This Haredi rabbi from Israel came to visit him in Volozhin. And all of a sudden he starts screaming at him, the Netziv, "Meragel, tzei mikan! Meragel, tzei mikan!" What happened? So he explained to his family, this is a choshev, a Haredi rabbi coming from Eretz Yisrael, and he tells me out of all the sins that they do in Eretz Yisrael, that Eretz Yisrael is a land of, like the Meraglim. The people no good, the land is no good. He starts speaking Lashon Hara. So the Netziv threw him out. He said, "You're a Meragel, get out of here. Even though you're wearing a bekesher with a shtreimel, if you slander Israel or the IDF, you are a modern-day Meragel." So said the Netziv Yehud in 1896. You could look it up. And he was a super Haredi rabbi. But some people just don't get it. Shlach lecha anoshim. Send for you men. The Klayokah says something incredible. Nechama, you sitting down? The Klayokah says that God complained to Moshe after the mission, Shlach lecha anoshim. It was your idea to send men. The Klayokah said, if you were to send women, what's her name? Remember Tokyo Rose? Tokyo Rose, no?
Yes.
I'm not making this up. You look in the Klayokah, written in the 1600s, he says on the Shlach Lecha Anoshim, Moshe, it was your idea to send men. If you were to send women, women would have come back with a good report, because women love Pisgat Zev. Remote. The Klayokah, he was a Haredi rabbi. Women would have come back with a good report. Jewish history would have taken a completely different turn. No Tisha B'Av. No Holocaust, no Khurban, but no. Moses, you had to send men. Men don't love the land of Israel as much as the women do. Shlach lecha noshim. That was your problem. Pretty incredible. Now he sent them Lotur et Haaretz. Lotur et Haaretz. The English word tur plus comes from the Hebrew Lotur. Doesn't say Meragel in the Parsha. In the Haftorah, the Chum, says Meraglim, but in the Parsha it doesn't say Meraglim. It says Vayishlach ota Moshe Lotur et Haaretz. Vayishuvu mitur. They came back mitur. What does tur mean? A tour. What's the message over here? What's the message? The message is that even though we're living in Eretz Yisrael many years, we should be excited like we're going on a tour. I'm so excited. Remember the first time you came here? Weren't you a tourist? So the message of the Torah is, even though you're living here many years, you should always be as if you came Latour at the Eretz. That excitement. The first time you saw the Kotel. You should be excited about living in Israel as a tourist and not to get used to it ever. That's a challenge. But that's why the Torah says Latour at Eretz Canaan. Leishuva mitur haaretz. To feel like a tourist even though you're living here many, many years. To be excited about living in Eretz Yisrael. Now, the Torah says, where is the source for davening in the grave of a tzaddik? To go to Rav Nachman's grave, wherever. The source is in this week's Parshat. It says, the Meraglim came up to the Negev, and he went to Hebron. Why only he? So Rashi says, Kalev himself went to be mispalel, where? Al kivrei avot, that he shouldn't fall in with the Meraglim. So this is the source of davening on the grave of a tzaddik. Kalev ben Yefuna went to the Morat HaMachpelah in Hebron to pray that he should not fall in with the Meraglim. The pressure was so great. After all, these were superstar rabbis. So he went to daven. To whom? You don't daven to the Avos. We don't daven to dead people. That's the wrong religion. We daven to God in the schus of the Avos. We don't daven to dead people, or even to live people. Many people make a terrible mistake. He went to Kivre Avot to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the schut of the Avot.
In Hebron, which
yes.
is in Eretz Israel.
Hebron.
Does that count when you're not in Eretz Israel to go to a kever?
Well, you can daven in the kever of. That's asking a good question. Are you allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael to go daven in the kever of a tzaddik? Rav Mordechai Yov felt no. He said no. Rav Mordechai Yov said no. But Rav Nachman did say, anyone who comes to my kever on Rosh Hashanah, I'll pull him out of Gehenna by his payas.
However, he said that before the Arab land of Israel.
Okay? So v'mlamitz chus on Yidden. As long as they buy a round-trip ticket, is good. Right? But this is the source. Then the Torah makes a strange statement. The Torah says that Hebron was built 7 years before Tzoan Mitzrayim. The city of Hebron was built 7 years before the city of Tzoan Mitzrayim. Well, thank you very much. Why should I care when Hebron was built and Tzoan Mitzrayim? Torah is not a history book. The Torah is GPS, God's personal system. Says Rashi, something incredible. Speaking to the modern day spies, those people that live in New York and sling mud at the holy IDF soldiers and the holy state of Israel. Rashi speaking to them from the year 1040. Rashi said, the Torah is telling me something incredible. The worst part of Eretz Yisrael is Hebron. It's the most rocky, infertile city in Israel. And therefore, it was turned into a gravesite, says Rashi. And Tzoan is the most fertile, luxurious, beautiful city in Mitzrayim, where the kings lived there, the pharaohs lived in Tzoan. Rashi says the Torah is telling me that the worst city in Eretz Yisrael, Hebron, the most rocky, barren, infertile land, is 7 times better than the best city in Brooklyn. I mean in New York. I mean in America. Rashi, this week's Parsha. Hebron is the worst place in Israel. Nothing grows. It's rocky, barren. Therefore, they've turned it into a graveyard. But that is 7 times, the worst place in Israel is 7 times better than the best place in America. In Egypt, which is America those days, right? What a powerful Rashi, right? Now, this great man, Kalev, isn't that strange? This tzaddik has a name like a dog? Hi, isn't that bizarre? Kalev is the same word as Kelev. There are no dots in a Torah scroll. Isn't that bizarre, Chanoch, that this great tzaddik would have a name like a dog? What's going on? What's going on? And we know in Judaism, your tafkid in life is contained in your name. That's why it's very important to go by your Hebrew name. So the Talmud explains, why is a dog called Kelev? Beautiful. Kelev is an acronym. FBI, CIA, IRS. Kelev is an acronym, Kuloi Lev. You gotta have heart. There is man's best friend, Lillian. There is no animal that is so loyal to its master like Fido, like a dog. So a Kelev is called Kelev Kuloi Lev. His entire heart is loyal to his master. So Kalev ben Yefuna taught that our hearts should be loyal to our master. That was his tafkid. Look at the dog, how loyal it is to its master. The tafkid of a Jew is to be Kuloi Lev for his master with a capital M. And therefore he was called what? Kalev. Therefore he was called Kalev. Now, the Meraglim didn't lie. The Chama, they spoke the truth. And Yeshua and Kalev didn't lie either. You know, how can they both be right? You know, remember Dragnet? Just a fact. The Meraglim didn't lie. They told the truth. It's a land that devours its inhabitant. The people are very strong. They didn't lie. And Yeshua and Kalev didn't lie either. They said, Toiva Oretz Ma'od Ma'od.
They looked at two different.
Beautiful, Nechama. What do you want to see? Of course there are problems here. But do you see, in Eretz Yisrael, do you see the glass as half full? Or do you see the glass as half empty? The Meraglim, they focused on the negative. Kalev and Yeshua, they saw the negative. There are problems here. But what did they say? Toiva Oretz Ma'od Ma'od. Despite the problems here, this is the best land for a Jew. Not just Ma'od, Ma'od Ma'od. Despite the problems. Don't despair, hang in there. Wow. The Meraglim didn't lie, but they focused on the negative. The message is that in Eretz Yisrael, you're supposed to accent the positive and not focus on the negative like the modern day spies in Brooklyn. To rent out a stadium? They have money for that? To slander the holy IDF soldiers and the state of Israel? Toiva Oretz Ma'od Ma'od. Of course there are problems here, but there's so much good here. What do you want to see? What do you want to see? The Torah teaching in Eretz Yisrael, you're supposed to see only the good. And there is so much good here. Just have to open up your eyes and see it. But no, they got to focus on the negative. The spies all wore shtreimels. They were Haredi. The amazing story, you heard of Eliyahu Kitov? You heard of him? the great Eliyahu Kitov. So once a Haredi rabbi came to visit him from Williamsburg, and it was a summertime, and they're walking down Rehov Yaffa. And you know, in the summertime, some ladies are not dressed that modestly. So the Haredi rabbi says to Eliyahu Kitov, Feh, azoi geit man ungetein. So Eliyahu Kitov grabs him and he shakes him. He says, what's the matter with you? Are you a maragel? Are you a spy? Are you a spy? Noch a mitzvah. Every step you take is a mitzvah. In Williamsburg, you take a step is not a mitzvah. Here, every step you take is a mitzvah. Why are you looking at the negative, Rabbi? Put your eyeballs back in the socket. What are you looking at? Why don't you see the good here? Where else can you take a step and get a mitzvah? Take a step and get another mitzvah. But he had the mentality of the Meraglim. He had to look at what's immodest. Of course, there is immodesty, but who tells you to look? Toiv Aretz Ma'od Ma'od. What a powerful message. Now the Kotzker Rebbe, Sarah, was very Haredi. Golda, Kotzker Rebbe was very Haredi. He says something. It says Yeshua ben Nun and Kalev and Yefunah, when they heard the blasphemy, tore their clothes. So Parshat, whose clothes did they tear? Their own, as a sign of mourning. But it doesn't say that. It says Yeshua ben Nun and Kalev and Yefunah from the spies tore their clothes. Yehuda, it's ambiguous. So the Kotzker Rebbe said they tore the spies' clothes. You guys are wearing a shtreimel and a kapota? And you're slandering Israel? They tore their shtreimel off their heads from the Meraglim. They tore their Rebbe Shebegudim. Kotzker Rebbe says this. If you slander Israel, you have no right to wear the Rebbe garb. Kotzker Rebbe wouldn't attend that stadium in Brooklyn. I don't think so. Isn't that incredible? Now, the spies, it's true. They said wherever we went, we saw people dying. That was true. But why were people dying? Says Rashi that the FBI would be busy with the mass funerals and not zero in on these guys. They were not dan God lekafschus. They didn't give God the benefit of the doubt. They saw Magefa breaking, AIDS Magefa in Canaan. But God did that, so the KGB and the FBI shouldn't look for these guys. They'll be busy with the mass funerals.
And all kinds of visitors come, funerals.
Nachon? So their problem is they were not done God lekafschus. The Sfas Emes points out something incredible. He quotes the Zohar that the Meraglim, they had frume cheshbonot. How do you say that in English? Frume cheshbonot. They made a cheshbon like this. Yiddish Lillian. Here in Israel, we have the Ananei Kavod, magic clouds of glory. In Pisgat Zev, no magic clouds of glory. Here we have man, angel food in the Midbar. You come to Pisgat Zev, you'll have to get Angel's Bakery, but it's not really angel food no more. Berman's. We're going to Holy Bagel. We're going to lose. Here you have, what do you have here? The Anani Kavod, and you have the Be'er Shal Miriam, Nechama, the magic holy waters of the magic rock of Miriam. Here you're going to have to buy Diet Zero Coke. So we come to Eretz Yisrael, we're going to lose these three gifts. That's what they said. Better to stay in the Midbar. But we won't lose the Anani Kavod, the Be'er Shal Miriam, the man. Says this Sfas Emes is something incredible. Right after the Chet HaMaraglim, there are three mitzvahs in the Torah. Let's work from the beginning. There's a mitzvah of Chala, Nisa Chayayin, and Tzitzis. We know when Pashas are next door in the Torah Chaya, they have to have what? Why after the Chet HaMaraglim does the Torah Chanok give you these three mitzvahs? Chala, to separate Chala from the dough. Nisa Chayayin, when you bring a korban in the Beis HaMikdash, you're supposed to pour wine on the altar accompanying the korban, and the mitzvah of tzitzis. Those three mitzvahs follow the Chet HaMaraglim. Why? Says the Sfat Emet, this is God's answer to the Maraglim. The Maraglim, they said, well, if we come here to Eretz Yisrael, we're not going to have any more man. No more bread from heaven. So God says, you think if I take away a gift, I shortchange you? When God takes away a gift, He gives you something better. Says the Zohar, the man, when a Jew separates challah from his dough in Pisgat Zev, in Ramot, in Rechavia, he infuses that bread with the kedusha of the man. You hear the Zohar? When you separate challah, or you buy challah from Berman to Angel's Bakery, the mashgiach took off the challah. You are ingesting the kedusha of the man. So therefore, the mitzvah of challah follows. The Meraglim said, we're not going to have any man over here. God says, man is a welfare check. But if you separate challah, you are infusing it with the kedusha of the man. You, not a welfare check. It's even better. Partnership. You're doing the mitzvah. So every time you have a sandwich here, Rav Avraham, you have to have in mind you're eating man. The Zohar says it's not me. Either your wife separates challah or the mashgiach in the bakery, you are ingesting kedusha of the man. What else did they say, Chaya? They said, here we have the Be'er Shel Miriam, the magic rock with the holy waters of Miriam. You come to East Talpiot, you'll have to buy zero or a Sprite. So the Zohar says, when you do the Nisach HaYayin on the Beis HaMikdash, through that mitzvah, all of the drinks in Israel have the Kedusha Be'er Shel Miriam. Therefore, you have the mitzvah Nisach HaYayin. How do you say that in English? Wine libations on the altar. That infuses all drinks, even what? J&B, Jewish booze, with the Kedusha of the Be'er Shel Miriam. And what else did they say, Avram?
Even scotch.
Even scotch. They said, here we have the Ananei HaKavod. Avram, the magic clouds of glory, hugging us. You come to Ramot, or Ashkelon, no more magic clouds. God says, I'll give you something better. When you come to the land of Israel, you wrap yourself in your tzitzis. That's being hugged tighter than the magic clouds of glory. So therefore, these three mitzvahs follow. The Meraglim did not give God the benefit of the doubt. When God removes a present, He replaces it with something else. Sometimes you see it 60 years later. Sometimes you see it 120 years later. But the klal is when God removes something from us, it's to replace it with something better. That's the message of the Meraglim, and why these three mitzvos follow on the heels of what? Of the Meraglim. Now, there's an amazing verse in Tehillim 78. We got to fax this to the Barclays Stadium in Brooklyn. They also learned Tehillim 78. Tehillim 78. It says, Vayichal b'hevel yemeim. The Dor HaMidbar, who they saw God speaking to them face to face. Dan Quayle, Man, the splitting of the Red Sea, all the miracles. They saw the pillar of fire at night on top of the Mishkan, and during the day they saw a pillar of what? Cloud, and a pillar of fire every night. Follow that cloud. Yet Tehillim 78 says, Vayichal b'hevel yemehem. They ended all their days in Hevel. What does Hevel mean? Vanity. Emptiness. Of Avram, I'm confused. The Ananei HaKavod. They had the best koilel in the world. The two best Rosh Yeshivas, better than Lakewood. Moshe and Aaron. Hi, you have a better koilel, Rosh koilel, better than the Phoenix. Moshe and Aaron were the Rosh koilel. And they were learning Torah day and night with Moshe Rabbeinu in the koilel. The top Rabbeim. And all of the miracles that they saw. And King David in Psalm 78 says, Vayichal b'hevel yemehem. The Dor HaMidbar ended their days with Hevel. Judah, Hevel means what? Nothingness. What? Avram, better Rosh Yeshiva than Moshe and Aaron? Ananei HaKavod. Amud Eish, Amud Anan, all the miracles. But if you don't have Eretz Yisrael, it's all Hevel. Who says this? King David. I think he was Haredi rabbi. King David in Psalm 78. Barclay Stadium in Brooklyn. You can have all the mikvahs and the yeshivas and the koilels in Lakewood. But if you ain't got Eretz Yisrael, King David calls it what, Chaya? Hevel. Psalm 78. Rabbi Avram, some people say, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind is made up. Psalm 78. And he calls it a Dor Sorer Umoreh. The same psalm. The generation that left Egypt, that saw all the miracles, that God spoke to them panim bepanim. King David calls it Dor Soreh Umoreh. How do you say that in English? The rebellious and wicked son. But it was a Dor Deah. You ever hear the book, It Was the Best of Times and the Worst of Times? Who wrote that book?
Charles Dickens. It was A Tale of Two Cities.
It's not Charles Dickens, it's Tillim 78, Benjamin. Tillim 78 beat him. It was the best of times. Dor Midbar, the best of times. They saw God and spoke to him face to face. And all the miracles on a daily basis. Bread from heaven. What bracha did they make on the man? Hamotzi lechem min hashamayim. The best of times was also the worst of times, because they didn't have East Talpiot. I mean, they didn't have Rechavia. I mean, they didn't have a Pisgat Zev. The best of times, but the worst of times. King David in Psalm 78. You're never going to get better Rosh Hashivas than Moshe and Aaron. Meta and magic clouds of glory, but it was Chutz La'aretz. And therefore King David calls us Dor Soreh Umoreh. They rebelled because they believed the slander of the Meraglim. And he says they ended their days with Hevel, with nothingness. Wow. Because it's Chutz La'aretz. The best koil, the best Rosh Hashivas, the best kosher pizza shops, but it's all Hevel, says King David in Psalm 78. That's pretty incredible. So Yehuda Lev was right. According to the Zohar, every time you eat a bagel in Israel, it's a holy bagel. The Zohar says that because since the Mashgiach took off in holy bagels, you can't eat a bagel till the Mashgiach takes off challah. So the Zohar says it's really a holy bagel. It has the Kedusha of man. What? Sam's bagels too. You can't get the Tudah if you don't have a Mashgiach separating challah. That's pretty incredible. It is a holy bagel. Now what's God's favorite colors? Blue and white. How do I know? It's a color of the tzitzis, but remember Neil Armstrong on the moon? I remember that. One small step for man. What did he see the earth as? A blue and white ball. I remember that. I was 19 years old. July 69. He saw the earth as a blue and white ball. He had a view, a God's view of the earth. The earth that's God's favorite colors, Chaya. Kachol v'lavan zeh tzeva sheli. Blue and white, that's the color of the tzitzis. That's the color of Mother Earth, looking from God's view, right?
There's a light up in space, only in Jerusalem.
Only in Jerusalem. Now, why blue and white? It's God's favorite colors, but why? Says the great Rav Soloveitchik. Off we go into the wild blue yonder. Da-da-da. Blue is a symbol of the mysterious. The deep blue sky, it's mysterious, it's the unknown. White is you see clear as day. The blue and white the tzitzis have to be tied together. Sometimes we see God Lavan, the wonderful state of Israel, all of the miracles going on here every single day, the wonders of Eretz Yisrael, high-tech, low-tech, leader in medicine. In agriculture, we manufacture water from the air, and we sell it to Jordan and to Africa. So sometimes we see God's Lavan. His purpose is clear as day. But sometimes we see the blue. It's mysterious. The tzoros here and all the suffering. That's the mystery. It's not clear to us. But the tzitzis are what? Tied together. It's one source. Whether it's blue or whether it's white, it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Rav Taveitzik says the blue in the tzitzis is to encourage us to see events more deeply, to look up and admire the blue, immense, vast sky leading to its source. God's Kisei HaKavod. Remember the Jews at Har Sinai had a vision of God, and they saw what? Livnas HaSapir, the English word sapphire. Sapphire. God's throne is sapphire. Why is the sky blue, Daddy? The sky is God's Kisei HaKavod, His throne of glory. And God's favorite color is blue and white. The blue, the mysterious, we don't know why they're suffering, and the white is the wonderful, marvelous miracle of the state of Israel. And not to take it for granted. What? When you close your eyes, it's all one. The blue and the white are tied together. Now the Torah says, you wear the tzitzis or eat them oto, and you shall see him. What do you mean you shall see him? You shall see him and remember the mitzvot. The tzitzis encourages us to see God, to look beyond the vast space, to see God behind everything. Even what we call teva, nature, is a gematria Elokim. Ha-teva in Hebrew, which is nature, has a state numerical value as what? Because what we call nature is really him. You're admiring a beautiful babbling brook, Avram, a beautiful orchard, or Niagara Falls. Who are you really looking at? God. God is in Niagara Falls. The same God that's in the Torah is in a beautiful flower. Therefore, the great rabbis were nature lovers. They went on a nature hike. Were they wasting their time? The great rabbis? Why? Because every time they admired a beautiful flower, a beautiful butterfly, they're loving God. Eritem oto, you will see him in everything in nature. That's the tafkid. Whenever we look at God's marvelous creation, we have to see him. Two people can be on a nature hike. One guy is wasting his time, and the other guy is madly in love with the one above. The mitzvah of the Torah to love God. Says Rama, how do you love God? One way is to what? To admire his beautiful world. So if you go on a nature hike. But if you know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in his nature, and God is a hands-on manager, so every time you admire nature, what mitzvah are you doing? Loving Hashem. It's the Shema. You should love Hashem, your God. So if you look with the right hashkafa, you never have to stop loving God. Right? Even on a nature hike, especially, you could madly in love with the one above, says Rambam, by admiring God's beautiful world. So the tchelet in the tzitzis, the blue, encourages me to what? To look at the beautiful blue sky and to admire the vastness of what we call space. Exodus 24:10, the Jews saw Hasapir, whatever that means. They saw God's throne of glory Sapphire, reflection of God's throne, and therefore the sky is what? Blue. So, buy one, get 613. Jews love bargains, Chaya. So the Talmud, the Menachos tells us, Eritem oto uschartem skol mitzvahs Hashem. When you wear tzitzis, it's like you remember to do all the mitzvahs of Hashem. You get it? Buy one, get 613. Rashi said the gematria of tzitzis is 600, 8 strings and 5 knots is altogether what? 613. Buy one, get 613. What about the women? How come women don't wear tzitzis? Nechama. Buy one. Don't steal my thunder, Abraham. Hope nobody heard that. I don't want to repeat it this way. I'll have to close shop. But Abraham hit the hammer on the head. Please hear me well. We need the props of tzitzis to remind us of who's in charge. Verstop the cup, men, verstop the cup. We need the props of the tefillin and the tzitzis and the shofar and the sukkah to remind us of the big boss. You ladies don't need the props. You know who's in charge. You don't need to look at the tzitzis to remember the big boss. You're wrapped up with the big boss. You don't need the props. Rachmiel, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Rabbeinu Bachai says this. He was a Haredi rabbi from the 1000s. A great Mekubal. He gave your answer, Avraham. The women don't need the props. We never, men are a little bit thick. So we need the props to remind us of the big boss. You ladies are naturally reminded. You don't need the tefillin, or the tzitzis, or the sukkah, or even how to daven. You know, my great-grandmother, the great-grandmothers in Europe, they didn't know how to read the siddur. Why? They didn't even own a siddur. Why? They didn't need it. We need the formal prayers to speak to our parent in heaven, our parent. But you women, they didn't need no standard text. Every time they opened their mouth, they spoke to their parent in heaven. So the righteous great-grandmothers didn't even read. They didn't need to. That's pretty incredible. So the Parsha ends with tzitzit. The Parsha ends with tzitzit and begins with what? With the spies. What's the connection? What's the connection? Rashi says that the heart and the eyes are the meraglim of the guf. Meragel, there's more than one type of spy. Right? Rashi says that the heart and the eyes are the spies of the body. Right? The eye sees, the heart lusts, and the guf says, let's go for it. Be careful, God says, don't follow the spies of your heart and of your eyes. Now, if you look at the sequence of the Torah over here, the Torah says, do not stray after your heart and after your eyes. Do not stray after your heart and after your eyes. So Rashi turns around the order of the Torah. Please hear me well. The Torah says, do not stray after your heart and then after your eyes. Rashi turns it around. Rashi says, first the eye sees, and the heart lusts, and the guf does the Veda. Why does Rashi change the order? Don't stray after your heart and after your eyes. Rashi reverses it. Rashi says, first the eye sees, and then the heart lusts. But the Torah says, don't stray after your heart and after your eye. What comes first? But let's get real. What comes first? First the eye sees, and then the heart begins to lust. Like Rashi says. First the eye sees, and the heart begins to lust. So why does the Torah reverse the order? Please hear me well. Torah says, don't stray after your heart and after your eyes. Normally it's the eye sees first, and then the heart lusts. Why does the Torah turn it around? Says the Al-Shich HaKadosh, something incredible. God is not out to get me. Sometimes you're sitting on the train or a bus, and a woman that's dressed immodestly sits down next to you. And you can't help but look at her. The first look is on the house. The Al-Shich HaKadosh says this, not me, Golda. The first look is on the house. Because you didn't what? Lust after it. She just happened to sit down next to you. You couldn't help yourself. So the Torah says, Achrei levavchem v'achrei einechem. If your heart lusts for her, and then you look, oy voy voy. But the first look, it wasn't your lave. The first look is on the house. God is not out to get us, Chaya. Al-Shich HaKadosh says this. And therefore the Torah says, don't stray after your heart and then your eyes. Because the second look, your heart is enticing you. But the first time, your heart wasn't there. It was just by accident. You couldn't help yourself. And therefore, you won't be held accountable. It's the second look. Oy, oy, oy. All right? It's just amazing. What do we want to see in Eretz Yisrael, Avram? Your heart reflects what you want to see. How do we reflect what we see? The Meraglim, they saw what their heart told them, to look at the negative. But in Eretz Yisrael, the Torah is teaching us that our heart should reflect what we see. What are we looking for? We should only accent the positive when it comes to Eretz Yisrael and not look at the negative. Even though there are things that are negative here. But there's so much good. Why not focus on what? On the good in Eretz Yisrael. Right? And not to focus on what's not good yet. So that's the message to tell our friends back in Chutz La'aretz. Toiv ha'aretz ma'od ma'od. Despite the problems. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom.